was on the wrong side of the paper.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and it is my honor and privilege to be bringing you this new season of the NFL. And of course, whenever we bring you our new seasons of the NFL, we want to bring you the best information we can. And so that's why we assemble the best team in sports talk. And so therefore, we have to bring forward the best people from not only sports talk, but of course, representing Georgia and here in Atlanta, we got to bring our peeps up. So I would love to introduce to you the man himself, our co-founder, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner, and in addition to that, the man who has been bringing us more information over the past few weeks than I have heard on sports radio or on the networks in the past few years. It's a man who needs very little introduction because we've been bringing you so many incredible opportunities to hear about the way that the NFL will be working this year, the changes, and everything to keep you up to date. And of course, the big part of 100 Yards of Football is we keep it on the field. We keep it about football, we keep it about history, and we keep it about the information that you need to make a decision about either your fantasy teams, your real life teams, or if you just really want to get that great insight that brings you back, reminds you of what it feels like to be sitting on a tailgate of a truck right outside of the stadium, just getting that grill going right in the morning, knowing that the rest of your day is devoted to the sport that you love. So without further ado, I'd love to bring up Mr. Harper LeBel.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. And today, it is time to talk about the NFL. After the draft, after free agency signings, after training camp, you've got hard knocks, you've got coaches and interviews and media and everything that goes along with it. You've got all your preseason concerns, whether we're playing my guy too much, too little, not enough. You got to find that Goldilocks moment. You've got other things that have happened throughout the league, but guess what? They're all for yesterday, because now it's time to talk about week one. The season is getting ready to begin. Along with the burner, Vincent Turner, I'm Harper LeBel. Welcome to 100 Yards of Football, the NFL edition. And Vincent, it's finally here. If you're going to be at the stadium, as Jeremiah mentioned, if you're going to be at a tailgater and you can hear that music off in the background and you walk towards the stadium, you get a little bit closer, you start to hear the crowd roar, or if you just turn the game on 3 minutes before you're going to start, the NFL is ready to be here. Week one with our opening game going to be Baltimore goes to Kansas City. But Vincent, how are you feeling right now about the NFL, your team in specific, and how the actual league is going to be playing this year?
You know, this time of year when football gets kicked off after Labor Day, it's a time that is going toward the end of the season. We're going to the Christmas season. We're going to Thanksgiving. But this time of year, it's all about the greatest game in America, in the world, in my opinion. The game of football, man. The players, Peyton, Rice, Namath, USC, Colorado State in the house, Tennessee. And of course, this season for me is a pleasure because I'm able to do what I love to do here on 100 Yards of Football. A dream is coming true for me. I actually got a guy that played 12 great years in the league. A guy that played at a major university, Colorado State. A guy who knows the game inside out. And I couldn't be more blessed. So 2024, I'm excited and I'm ready to get it on. And we got one of the best talented guys, Mr. Harper LeBel.
Well, it gets started on Thursday, Vincent. A game with playoff implications right out of the bat. And I love how the league does this. They put important games right at the beginning, games that you would want to watch, whether it be in week 1 or week 17. And so we're going to start this week with talking about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. John Harbaugh heading to Kansas City for what would really be a playoff game if it were later on in the year, playoff implications. Your thoughts about Jackson, Mahomes, Kansas City, Baltimore, Reed, Harbaugh? You start off with a game that has some meaning.
When you look at it, you got two teams that made the AFC playoffs, played in the championship game. Very, very competitive game where Kansas City won and went on the Super Bowl. But to me, when I look at this football game, I want to see more or less what Baltimore is going to do. Is it Lamar Jackson's time to really step up? He's had 2 great MVP seasons, but how we do it here in 100 yards of football is all about the rings. That's what greatness is about. It's about winning that coveted trophy, the Super Bowl trophy. That's why right now we talk about Tom Brady in a different light. That's why we talk about Joe Willie Namath in a different light. We talk about Eli Manning. Lamar's an outstanding football player, but all those yards, all those touchdowns, are you going to get the Ravens to the Super Bowl? And to me personally, 2 other points I'm going to bring up about the Ravens that I want to see on Thursday night. Nate Wiggins, the rookie out of Clemson. Want to see how he performed. Played at Westlake High School, locally here in Atlanta, Georgia, where we broadcasting from. In the acquisition of them losing Patrick Queen going over to Pittsburgh, which is going to be huge. And whether or not the young receivers, Zay Flowers bounced back after he had that key fumble in the AFC Championship game. That's what I want to see about the Ravens. As far as the Kansas City Chiefs, what more can you say? Maybe got the greatest player of our generation, Patrick Mahomes, only 28 years old, and he's on a ride right now, man. 3 Super Bowls. I never thought that I'd never see a guy that can challenge Tom Brady as far as Super Bowl championships. But right now, this young man at 28 years old, he's on another level. And we got him another toy. This is for the people out of the state of Texas. Xavier Ward is going to be, as we say in the neighborhood, problem, speed. Back to you, Mr. Harper.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill's gone. You could tell last year, or especially early on, the receivers were dropping balls. Patrick was putting in people's hands. They just weren't making the big plays. And that's what worries me if I'm playing against Kansas City, is here's a guy that if he has a tool, and last year the consistent offensive weapon for them was obviously Travis Kelce. They were eventually going to catch up. Wide receivers, backs out of the out in the flat. Patrick was able to kind of manipulate the offense to maneuver, and we could do one thing one week. It didn't work the next week, so we had to find something else that worked. But you're never, ever out of a football game by 10, 20 points. It doesn't matter. Patrick Mahomes can always keep you in a game, even if it's late. That's the thing that Brady did, and Patrick Mahomes has that same type of personality. That'll be a fantastic game. I'm really looking forward to it. The next one that I'd like to bring up, and we don't have to have it on the sheet at all that we're going to talk about for other games, but the NFL's expanding, Vincent. They're trying to find other places where these guys can play. Europe has been a home base, really. London always has a game. You've got games that go over into Germany. You've had games in Canada. In preseason, you go all over the place. You've had games in Mexico. Sao Paulo, Brazil is going to host their first game, where Green Bay, a playoff team for last year, will be playing at Philadelphia, but really it's not a home game for either one. Your thoughts about the NFL expanding, or at least trying to get eyes opened in expanded markets and in other countries?
That's good that you asked me this question, and really nobody's really asked me this question over the last few years. I don't like it, man. To be honest, football is an American game. It's a game, it's a pastime. But I understand it's about the money, it's about getting more eyes on the game. But I don't like personally playing in London. I don't like playing in Brazil. Leave the game on American soil, man. In the areas of California, in the areas of Memphis, Tennessee, in the areas of Texas. That's where the game is born. That's where it comes from, high school. What are we taking the game over in Europe for? They don't have no high school history. Nobody playing football in London, do they? Okay, that's probably a British, mate. They don't have no history. Nobody playing the game over there in Brazil. But that's my opinion. But to the game itself, we got 2 great young quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, and a young man that shocked the world last year in the NFC playoffs, Jordan Love. I did not see that coming. And that young man is going to be a player. And I know Matt LaFleur has got to be ecstatic because he's got his hands on a guy that they drafted to replace Aaron Rodgers. And Matt LaFleur has got to be happy because let's make the situation real. Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers didn't get along, and you know that, Harper. You got the connections to that. But look how Matt LaFleur took his time with Jordan Love last season, was patient with him, and the young man performed at a high level in the playoffs. Personally, I'm happy for the Green Bay Packers. And getting back and give it back to you, Harper, all I can say about the Eagles is Super Bowl or bust. expectations. Saquon Barkley is with you now. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. You still got that hell of an offensive line. You got the guys from Georgia. That's a very talented football team. Eyes on Eagles to be the team to come out of the NFC.
Yeah, they struggled the last 6-7 weeks last season. They were 10-win, 1 or 2 losses at one point, and then they basically backed into the playoffs. So it'd be interesting to see how they turn things around there in Philadelphia. But when they're down in Sao Paulo, it's all about the money. That's what they're going down there for, Vincent. They want to sell jerseys. They want to sell tickets. They want to open eyes. They want people to tune in and get cable and the Sunday ticket. So it's a way to expand in a way that basketball has done successfully. Baseball is a worldwide sport now. They may not be playing it in Antarctica, but you know what? There are different markets that they can reach, and they're attempting to do that. That's one of the interesting things. But you mentioned being back on American soil. Well, let's go down to the Superdome. I'll start this week's games up at the top. You're looking at the Panthers traveling to New Orleans. I'm not so sure that the mark and the move that the press is making about, hey, watch out for those Falcons. Hey, watch out for what's going on there, Atlanta. I don't think they care in New Orleans. I really don't. I think they're going, no, we got to take care of our own business, and that would be starting with beating Carolina. Is Derek Carr their guy? That's probably their biggest concern. It has nothing to do with what's going on in Atlanta. They want to make sure that offense can click at the level that Drew Brees had them in so many years ago. And if they are able to do that, I think New Orleans is not going to care one lick about what is going on elsewhere in the league. They've got enough to be concerned about there with their own team. Well, what else in the games that you're looking at right there? There's quite a few that people are going to be watching this weekend. Which ones are intriguing to you?
Of course, the national game, the game at 4:30 coming out of Cleveland, Ohio, music, the Ohio players, the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Cleveland. It's always going to be, I want to say, a mystery with the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to be in the news one way or another under Jerry Jones. Starting with them, I'm glad they signed the best player on the team in CD Lamb. Obviously, Dak Prescott is going to be very, I want to say, intriguing how the season's going to go with him. Is he the man in Dallas? Is he not? They haven't gave him a contract extension. They're playing 2 new offensive starters, 2 rookies, and Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe. The running back position in Dallas, I don't know what they're doing. I would have took him back in the draft. I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. You signed 2 veterans that I think are long in the tooth. Davin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott. So there's a lot of mystery going in Dallas. Then you're going over to Cleveland. They talking about they want to be in the conversation of Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson coming back from a very serious injury. I want to see where he's at. You saw the young man playing high school 4 straight years. I wish I was in your seat at that time because I want to know what he must have been a special talent throwing the ball over in Gainesville. But the Browns, they got a good team. Amari Cooper, Myles Garrett. I think they've done a great job. It's going to be interesting. I think a lot of press is going to be on the Cowboys, and I think the Browns are going to be a team that's going to make a statement against my Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. And the debut of one Thomas Brady in the booth at Fox as being the number 1 guy as a color analysis. That's what I'm looking for in the Dallas-Cleveland game.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting phenomenon because of his partial ownership, or at least the stake that he has in the Raiders. There's going to be things that he can and cannot say. That's an interesting dynamic. I mean, how do you censor a guy that has an opinion that everybody wants to hear what he has to say? He's going to have stories, but how far can you go? And have you gone too far? That's kind of an interesting perspective there. But you know what? Tom can solve that by just giving up his stake with the Raiders. I don't think he wants to do that. That's a place that will be a fortune maker for him. Not that he needs it. He's got money, but he knows how to make it. That'd be an interesting phenomenon. Games that you're looking at there, obviously at 1:00, Vikings at Giants. That's going to be a big, have the Giants turn it around. AFC West, Raiders at the Chargers. That's going to be a ball game that has implications there for the West Coast. Broncos as well. They're at Seattle. Not sure what Seattle's got this year. Do they have what it takes to win that division and overtake the 49ers? Big things there. Arizona goes to Buffalo. Tennessee at Chicago. Give me a quick overview of Caleb Williams. Is he ready to take on the blitzes and the stunts that he hasn't been able to see in the preseason? How will he react to a new offensive line different from what he had in college?
I'm going to say this about Caleb Williams. Being a guy that during the preseason, a lot of people were saying, hey, man, is he ready for the game? And then when he played his first preseason game against Buffalo, all I heard is that, wow, he was a man among boys. He fits what we're doing here in the NFL. And this is for you, for some of you people out there. I'm going to call you out here in 100 Yards Football. There were some people that graded him as a 4th rounder. Then there were some people say he's going to be a bust. You know who I'm talking to. So don't get upset. But what you finna see a rookie that come into the league that's got that same, I want to say, charisma. He got that same excitement when Tony Dorsett got drafted out of Pitt and he came in the league with Dallas. Or when Joe Namath came out of Alabama and the Jets took him in the mid-60s. You saw how that went when Namath held that chinchilla coat and won the Super Bowl III. And then we're talking about when Peyton Manning came into the league. See, that's what you're going to see with Caleb Williams. And the most important thing that I like is that it's in the Windy City. This is for my father, Chester Turner. That's his favorite team, the Chicago Bears, and he loved Walter Payton. All your people in the Windy City, get your popcorn ready, as Terrell Owens said, because Caleb Williams is special. He's going to be special. And I'm not going to harp on it, but think about this, Harper. This young man is so special. Coming out of high school, he went to Oklahoma. Knew there was another 5-star guy there starting. And I saw an interview with him, and he said, you know what? I wanted to go with the best of the best was. Then he sat for a couple of games behind Spencer Rattler. But what stuck out of my mind in the interview, when Spencer Rattler and the first team at Oklahoma was up doing their workouts, he was right there. And this is the greatest thing I like about Caleb Williams. When that young man went on the field against Texas as a freshman, Oklahoma down in that game 28-7. And he had that long touchdown run. You know what he said, Harper? I know I was not going to give a job up.
Yep.
Then he go out to USC, the greatest program in football. Where you from, Harper? Mike Garrett, OJ, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, and he wins the Heisman. And he plays on a football team, if he had any kind of defense, would have been in the college football playoffs. Then everybody talking about, well, we should have not traded Justin Fields, all you guys out on social media. I know you don't like him. But what he did in the first preseason game against Buffalo, everybody started, it's got that Dorsett magic. Then came back against Cincinnati. Harper, how did you like that play he made against Cincinnati in preseason? It was like a kid in a cookie jar.
You said it, Vincent. He's something special now. His ability to get out of the pocket, to buy time, he does things that veterans still struggle to do that are natural for him. I tell you what, Vincent, the city of Chicago will explode if he ends up winning game 1 against Tennessee at 1:00. And part of the reason for that is just because we as Bear fans can start saying he's back. It's back. We're back. There's something for us to get excited about. We've got a kid. Keep him healthy. Keep that man healthy. Protect him, right? Don't let that man get hurt. He is something special, and we're going to find out. There's also special. You just go a little bit further east in Washington. Dan Quinn's got himself a quarterback. Now, he may not do everything that you need from a 3rd and 4th, 6-year guy. He's a rookie, but he is well above everybody. Jaden Daniels is something special as well. 2 top quarterbacks, number 1 and number 2 pick, respectively. The Commanders end up going to the Buccaneers. Quarterback issues all resolved there in Tampa, Vincent. They re-signed Baker Mayfield, and Baker came on last year like a freight train. Not a big body guy, but he did a lot of things to help Tampa get into the playoffs, to win that first game, to go up to Detroit, not embarrass yourselves. You're feeling pretty good if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneer right now.
I'm going to tell you about Baker Mayfield. I got a lot of respect for him. I even heard some people that I'm not calling no names out there said he didn't think he was going to be a good football player. He wasn't going to make it at the quarterback position. Obviously, we know what happened over there in Cleveland. Then he went to Carolina. Then he went to the Rams. Then he came to Tampa and played on a one-year deal. And I always think about this, especially in this game of football. The greatest thing about great players, they're able to bounce back from adversity. And he took a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. They had one offensive piece in Mike Evans. And they ended up almost playing one game from playing in the NFC playoff championship game and then getting to the Super Bowl. I got a lot of love and respect for Baker Mayfield, man. I really do. And I like that what Todd Bowles has done in Tampa and the way they play defense. I would say, hold up, Falcons. For you start talking about you the team in the NFC South, you better really take a step back and know that we got a warrior. Warriors come out to play in Baker Mayfield down there playing the quarterback position down there in Tampa. I got a lot of respect for Tampa. And I think when you're going to see against Washington, you got the big rookie, as you just mentioned, Jaden Daniels is coming in, but you got to think Baker Mayfield is saying, hey, man, I paid enough to get this deal redone in Tampa that made me my man. Hey, man, I'm going to prove that I'm one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. That's going to be a statement game.
Yeah, I think so. He's scrappy. He's tough. He's a winner. And that's the thing. He's smart. He's not much bigger than a postage stamp when you compare him to other NFL quarterbacks, but he's going to get the ball to the right guys. And he's competitive and he wants to win, and he will help you get to the promised land. That's his goal and his aspirations. Other games at 1:00. New England is going to be at Cincinnati. Houston travels to Indianapolis. They'll be taking on the Colts. Jacksonville and Miami, a Florida in-state game. That'll be an interesting one to see how each of those franchises ends up beginning the season. The games that you're seeing up there on the screen that we have right now, I'm telling you what, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes watching the Rams at Detroit. Is Detroit for real? Is this a repeat of the game, the division championship game that took place there in Detroit? Are they going to start out slow? Are they going to be fast? They've got some things. Dan Campbell, I really like what they've done in Detroit in a very, very short period of time. They've gone from a laughingstock to a team that everybody has to be paying attention to.
I'm going to say this. Remember when he took the job? And there was a lot of people were giving him a hard time because he said, hey, what was this cliche? We're going to bite some kneecaps off. Yep. Well, you're not saying that now. But what I like about Dan Campbell, if he look what he said in Hard Knocks, he said the game is very basic. All you have to do, and he was telling his team, if you go back and look when the Lions were on Hard Knocks, just listen to me, man. I'm going to get you where you need. And what I really admire and respect, Brad Holmes, the GM that we don't talk about, came over from the Rams, and the way him and Dan Campbell been able to click to build that roster. And then they took Jared Goff, another California yay boy, good-looking kid. Remember, everybody saying he was a bust when he left the Rams.
Yep.
Everybody saying he fell out with Sean McVay. Oh, the Lions are not going nowhere. But you know what? He ain't played at a high level. And then I like what the Lions did most of all. They re-upped Mr. Amon St. Brown, who had an attitude because he was a 4th-round pick a couple of years ago in the draft. Then they went and got Jameis Williams out of Alabama. Then they got Jahmyr Gibbs, former Georgia Tech guy, out of Alabama. Then they got Mr. Sewell out of Oregon, offensive tackle.
Thank you.
Man, Dan really, and built something in Detroit. And it's a lot of transplants living here in the local metro Atlanta area. And I see them all the time. And the one thing that the Lions transplants are telling me, they're not talking about playing in the playoffs, Harper. They're not talking about making an NFC championship game. They're talking about busts. They want to be down in the. That's right. They want to be down in the dome, baby.
Yep.
And a lot of them say they want to be in the dome because they said they want to bring Motown to Louisiana in February of 2025.
Yeah, they invested in their offensive line, first and second rounders all throughout. Aiden Hutchinson last year, they invested in the defensive line. They are making the moves and the changes that you need to make that a team says we can build on this. But in the trenches, watch out for the Lions. They are talented. Let's switch our thoughts here to the local game. Everyone's paying attention, even the rest of the league. It's been a long while since everybody's been talking about Atlanta and what's going on here with the Falcons. But let's begin with the Steelers. Still have Mike Tomlin. You still have Cameron Hayward, but there are some new additions. And one of those, Cameron Hayward's brother, Corey, had a great season last year. You know, they're not expecting a whole lot out of him. He has a couple of touchdowns. He had a big game. He helped beat Atlanta last year when they played early in the season. But so let's talk first about who's going to be playing quarterback for him. They said Russell Wilson. What type of leash does Russell have? Is it a long one, or does if he throws one pick, will he be replaced?
No, I think Mike Tomlin has made it clear that Russell Wilson is his man. They got some personal ties. They're from the state of Virginia. Mike Tomlin knows a lot of people from Russell Wilson's family. So I understood Russell going to Pittsburgh. And I think Mike Tomlin brought him there because he can trust. You've been a player on that level. It's very important that the coach and the quarterback has this certain level of trust. And when you look at Pittsburgh, no, I don't think Russell Wilson's going to get pulled early. The thing that intrigues me about this game, a lot of Memphis connections with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number one, Arthur Smith. If people don't know, his father runs the company called FedEx. He's the founder. A lot of people didn't even know that. And I respect Arthur Smith. I was pulling for him here in Atlanta. Now he's the OC. How grateful is it that a team that fired you or organization that you get back in the first game, you come back as an offensive coordinator with another team and you get a shot at them? You know Arthur Smith has got to be really, really foaming at the mouth to get what he wants from Atlanta and make a statement. George Pickens is a phenomenal football player. I think he's going to take a next step. Jody Porter Jr. is going to take a next step. They started my man who I saw playing high school over there at Hardin Academy in Memphis, Tennessee, Mr. Calvin Austin. Listen for that name on Sunday, the 901. So it's going to be a lot of football players that's representing Memphis and Georgia. Let me throw Broderick Jones out there at the University of Georgia. It's going to be what I say, a family affair coming home to the Mercedes-Benz. And don't forget, Pittsburgh still got T.J. Watt and Cameron Hayward. So to me, looking at the Atlanta Falcons side of the ball, and you know more about it, Harper, you know that the pressure is on Atlanta. The pressure is on Raheem Morris. So you can do all that talking. You got all those nice toys with Kirk Cousins. You drafted Michael Penix Jr. You went out there and signed Justin Simmons. Y'all talking about him and Jesse Bates are going to be one of the best duos that played the safety position in the NFL. You got B. John Robinson. You got Drake London. No question about it. Kyle Pitts. Outstanding young offensive talent. But the key is you haven't played a game yet. You haven't won the game. You're sold out the dome. But to me, all that talking, all that cliche, it don't mean nothing. The season's finna start. And see, now, since you acquired Justin Simmons, I don't want to hear about the Falcons brass talking about, well, I just want to win one playoff game. You say you got the best talent in the division. And no disrespect, because Harper, I know you're alumni of the Falcons. You cover the Falcons. To me, it's about y'all talking about the Super Bowl and handling your business. And I'm going to give it back to you. The one thing that people are telling me is that the first 4 games are going to be tough. We got to go 2-2. We got to go 3-1. Oh, my God, we go 1-3. How we hired the right coach in Raheem. It's Terry Fontenot. It's the right GM. These first 4 games is going to be the most watched games in Atlanta Falcons history. I don't care about Matt Ryan being under the center. I don't care about Michael Vick. I moved to this city in 1996, and I have never seen so much expectations put on a football organization. But that's what the National Football League is about. That's why you played 12 great years in the league, Mr. Harper LeBel. You know the pressure, so come in. Don't run away from it today, baby. You and Vincent Turner here on 100 Yards of Football. Talk about that pressure over there in Friday Branch.
Well, they've got plenty of it. And Arthur Blank, I think, is the guy that. And let me mention something about Arthur, between Arthur Smith and Arthur Blank. What an interesting conversation that was when Arthur Smith was given a job 4 years ago. Hey, I'm going to give you a 3-year deal, and we're going to talk to you about things throughout, but you're going to start with your hands cuffed. We don't have any money. We're in cap hell right now. and we've got to get out of it. We've got dead money with Matt Ryan, with Julio, with Deion Jones, and you're going to have to get through this. You're going to have to sign a bunch of guys to 1-year deals, real short. You're going to get talent that is just going to be coming through for a year or two. You're going to have to rebuild with nothing except for a couple of draft picks. And by the way, our quarterback is aging, and you're probably going to want to get rid of him, and you did. So a very interesting phenomenon. No money in year 1, no money in year 2. He finally gets some money and is able to sign some guys. But what happened to me is that game against Carolina last year. Oh, my goodness. When Desmond Ridder threw that ball right in the middle of the hands of a linebacker while we're trying to score in a rainy game, I think that was the beginning of the end. There were signs that it might be taking place, but I think that was the one nail in the coffin, so to speak. And then to lose as badly as they did in New Orleans, I don't think it was even where you want him to be on the airplane to come home. Arthur Blank wanted to get rid of him, bring in a new guy. Bill Belichick was one of those guys that went through a second interview. There were about 5 others. And then we go with Raheem Morris, and what a breath of fresh air he's been. To see that man smile and to say, we're fine. The confidence level that he has, the players that we brought in. I think the first situation, problem number 1, is we don't have a quarterback at the NFL level. You sign Kirk Cousins, you draft Michael Penix. That problem is immediately taken care of. Now it's just developing them and letting them work within the system. And that, to me, is the patient level that the Falcon fans have needed to have here now for 2-3 months. All those 6 weeks of training camp, they're finally ready for it. But I think there's going to be a little bit of rust. It's not going to be completely smooth. We're not going to dominate out of week 1. That's what I'm thinking right now. But we've got guys, you got horses in the barn that can play. You got a really good offensive line. They're not the best in football, but they're not the worst either. They're good. And they've been together. One of the few offensive lines that's been together for as long as they have, with pieces between Matthews and Caleb McGarry and everything in between. You got an all-pro guy in Lindstrom. I'm throwing a lot at you, but I'm really excited about this. I think we can run the ball well, and that's what Kurt came here to do. He didn't come to throw 400 yards a game. He came to run an offense that runs smoothly, that we can run. And you've got 2 guys in Bijan and Tyler that are going to be phenomenal. We don't know about the receiving yet because we haven't had anybody for the last 3 years that can complete a pass down the field. But the tight window that Kirk Cousins is able to throw in, I'm excited about the offense. I think we can score 28 points a game. I'm not afraid of that number. I'm really not, Vincent. I think that's something that they can achieve. It's just basically how can the defense hold, and they've done a great job of moving themselves up and ramping into a number 1 type defense that you would have to get you in the playoffs.
I'm going to say this. I want to give you kudos this morning that you gave my man, Arthur Smith, some respect today. Arthur Smith, to me, is still a good football coach. I think he has an old school mentality. I'm glad that here on 100 Yards Football today that you showed the world what he had to face. Me personally, I would have gave him another year. I don't want to get harping on Arthur Smith just because he's from my hometown. His father's very dear to my city, gave me a job at FedEx. But just his quality and his maturity, I think just being a hard-nosed football coach and doing his way. Reality was he decided to go with Desmond Ridder, and that's what got him fired. But he left and that's the decision you have to live with. You're right, Harper.
Yep.
But he left Mr. Raheem Morris with a good football team. Like you said, the quarterback position is not settled. That's why the expectations are high. But coming into this year, I'm looking at the Atlanta Falcons to be must-see TV. And I like what they got coming out of the gates. You got the Steelers, you got the Eagles, then Sunday night, the Taylor Swift show. The Taylor Swift show is going to show up in Mercedes-Benz on Sunday Night Football. We're going to find a lot real early about whether or not the Falcons are going to be competitive. And that's what I'm excited about. I haven't been to a Falcons game since 2006, since Michael Vick was under center. You know what? I might have to scrounge up some shackles and see the Falcons this year. It's going to be very interesting to me what they do the first 3 games.
Get that money out. Come on, Vincent.
Yes, sir. So, hey, man, anticipation is high here in Atlanta. The doors are open. This is a very good fan base when you win it. So my point is that you got enough talent. Allegedly, you're supposed to have the best talent to win the division, bar none. Are we correct? The Falcons are the most talented team in the division.
It's hard to take numbers in people like Jarrett Omanyata. We're going to see a new guy in Harrison, but you got Matthew Judon. You've got Troy Anderson back. Your secondary with Bates and Timmons. That you got all pro levels at. Well, wait a second. They haven't made the Pro Bowl. A.J. Terrell's been close. They've been close. And part of the reason they don't go is because you only win 6 or 7 games a year. That's not going to get it done. When you win 10, when you win 11, when you had John Madden and Pat Summerall talk about you on Sundays in the playoffs in January, that's when you make Pro Bowls. And the Falcons haven't had that for a while. So the expectation, that's the thing. You win 11, 12, maybe 13 games this season, you're going to have Pro Bowlers all over the place. We recognize it. Falcon fans know this, but it's time for the rest of the league, and that's only going to come when you win games. You go 2-2, you go 3-1 in that first 4 games that you mentioned. Now you're making a difference.
My final questions today here on 100 Yards of Football about the Atlanta Falcons, the Pittsburgh Steelers opening game. Like I said, I couldn't be more blessed. I got the gentleman in front of me, so I'm going to put him on the spot. From your heart, and you played in the league at a high level. You played with some great players. How do you feel about the Atlanta Falcons? Tell the audience out there, tell the world out there, how do you feel about the Falcons going into 2024? Are they a playoff team? Can we mention Super Bowl maybe in the conversation? How good are they going to be this year?
Well, here's the interesting thing about mentioning Super Bowl. Can you mention Super Bowl? You better. You better have a seed that you plant if you want to grow a tree. And Raheem Morris has talked about this during the offseason. Our goal isn't just to win the division, but it is to win the division. We also have other goals. We are going to the Super Bowl. That's what he's telling this team. And the envisionment of that, the implanting of the seeds, as I mentioned, getting the idea across, the work ethic, everything that is a part of that, the culture has changed. That's the thing that I'm excited about. Now, if I'm in Pittsburgh and I'm traveling here on Saturday and I'm going to get into my hotel room, we're going to have a meeting Saturday evening and another one Sunday morning, I'm saying, hey, don't believe any of this Falcon hype. We are the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are the ones that dominate. We are the ones that win in the trenches. And we have for years. Atlanta can't beat us. They never have. You look at the record between the two teams, it's the spread is as far apart as you get. Atlanta's won a couple games, but only a couple. It's not a rivalry where it's 10-10, or 11-9 if they played 20 times. So Atlanta has to overcome a lot of those things. The steps to get there have been taken. But the actual crossover to where that applies and you start winning ball games and you beat the Steelers, you change the narrative for the rest of the year. And I mean it. That's going to be a big difference maker. If you lose, you can blame it on, well, we were a little rusty. We didn't play any of our guys in the preseason, and you still have time. But I am excited about this season. I hope that they get to where they want to be because they're talking about it. They're envisioning it. They're doing everything that needs to be done in order to get to that next level. And if you don't talk about it, it won't happen. You don't get lucky in the NFL. You've got to prepare for stuff. That's the thing to me, Vincent, that is the most important thing, is they are doing everything that you need to do that is a blueprint from what other teams have done to win themselves a trophy.
Well, my final comments today here on 100 Yards of Football. It looks good when you got it on paper. It looks good when you can say, hey, man, we got this, we got players. I could talk a lot of noise. My team has got these players. My team has got a veteran that's played in the league. But you know what? It's like a word that a young man by the name of Ronnie Keebler told me from Brooklyn, New York. It's your actions. It's your actions. And it's going to happen on Sunday at 1 p.m. We're going to see what the Falcons are all about. Justin Fields is coming home. Russell Wilson. But I'm going to tell you the most enjoyable thing I love, Harper, that I want to see is Sunday Night Football. The Taylor Swift Entourage is coming to Atlanta on Sunday Night Football. Hey.
Well, whether you're in Buffalo, Seattle, LA, you're in Florida, we've got a box of NFL football this year that we're going to be talking about. Week 1 is getting ready to take place, and we'll be a part of the entire 17-game schedule, the 18 weeks that it takes to go all the way from September and Labor Day in through early January. And the playoffs are even beyond that. But we want to thank you for paying attention to first show that we have this year, for tuning in with us, for Vincent Turner, for our producer, Jeremiah Long. I'm Harper LeBel. Thank you for watching edition number 1 of the NFL side of 100 Yards of Football.